Hi, welcome back. Today we're going to do a slightly different video. I'm going to take you to the workshop and we're going to actually dismantle a brake pump. This is one that's been taken off a car and has come in for overhaul. So we're just going to strip it down, take out all the components, have a look, see what you might expect when you're taking one apart. The next video will be once it's been cleaned and ready to be reassembled with a new kit, and we'll put it back together. So a lot of the video is going to be on a voiceover. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave comments, and please subscribe to the video and look out for the next one where we actually reassemble the pump, and I'll show you how it goes back together. So here's the brake pump. I've got the brake pump spanner held in the vise. Obviously the shroud's been taken off. Usually there's a shroud held on with a circlip where you'll just see the top adapter there. So what I'm going to do is unscrew the top adapter, which is sometimes quite tight. Those carcellations at the bottom of the pump are where you want to undo it by. So you take the shroud off and put the socket over the pump to engage in those teeth and then undo it that way. If you try and undo it from the top, you'll probably just undo the top. So here we're about to get the top off, almost there. So that comes off, and underneath that, directly underneath that chamfered section at the bottom of the top, there's a washer. It's a chamfered washer, which is a sealing washer, which it crushes down and seals. So that usually is what holds in that non-return valve that you can see poking out the top there. So you have to kind of dislodge that chamfered washer because it will be squashed into the pump. So what I do is I usually just take a screwdriver and just move it over sideways, and that dislodges the chamfered washer on top of the non-return valve there. You'll see now it's dislodged. You see that chamfered washer sitting on top of the valve? As soon as that is dislodged, you can lift the valve out. Underneath the valve, you can see the valve washer. That's the sprung washer, which lifts the non-return valve. So I'm just picking out the spacer washer. That washer sets the gap between the wavy washer and the valve washer. That's everything out the top of the pump. Now I've turned it over and you'll see the circlip underneath. That is what retains the piston. I'm just going to press it down to make sure it's not seized. You can see that that piston's moving nice and freely. I've just turned it around so you can get a better look, possibly. And then it lifts out the circlip. You'll see that that spring is still pushing on the piston. That is not what happens if you've got a broken spring. That is the adapter for the piston. The last thing that's in there is the barrel for that piston, and that just sits in there sealing on an O-ring. Unless they're really tight, you can usually just tap them down and they'll just pop out, but you have to be careful not to damage the inner face of that barrel because that's a very, very tightly toleranced machining operation on there. So the piston and the barrel are a matched ground assembly, and that's where the pumping comes from. They're very, very closely ground. You can actually feel them drag when you move them in and out. You have to make sure that the piston and the barrel aren't scored or damaged and that it is operating nice and smoothly. So just take the O-rings off. The inner O-ring is what seals the barrel, and you usually use a hook tool to just get inside that groove and hoik it out. But sometimes they can be very hard, very brittle, and not come out very easily. It's a struggle to get it on camera, but you can just see I've just managed to hoik that O-ring out. That one was quite soft. it actually came out quite easily. Sometimes they come out in bits and stuff gets left behind, and then obviously you got to spend more time cleaning that groove out because it has to be perfectly clean. That's the complete brake pump housing with no components in it. So the last part here is the non-return valve, so I'm going to show you what's in there and how that comes apart. You'll need a smaller set of circuit pliers. You, again, like taking the piston out, you just want to push down that end stop, get on the circlip, which I'm failing to do there. Right, there you go, so the circlips come up, and then everything else will just drop out of there quite easily. It's not a particularly tight fit, but sometimes they just get caught on their way out. You just pop it through. There's the end stop, and then you've got a spring and a valve, and obviously the spring just holds the valve down. That's everything taken out of the pump now. That's the pump completely dismantled. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe so you can catch the next video where we reassemble the pump after everything has been cleaned properly and we put a new kit in it. Look forward to seeing you on the next one.